This is the news. I just watched the Pete Doherty interview by Theroux last night. It's available on iPlayer if you've not seen it. And I would say definitely worth a watch if you're a fan of either Pete Doherty or Theroux. The Libertines are probably the last huge UK band that soundtracked a generation. I personally missed out on the buzz and the hype as I'd left the UK and was in a post-Britpop, techno, hip-hop and garage phase, and I had no internet or NME or much of an idea what was going on back home. But when I came back though, it was obvious that I'd missed something a bit special. I hadn't missed it, it was happening, but there was, my mate Chubbert, R.I.P. Chubbert, and just all my friends were just right into the Libertines. And then I started getting into them. And now there's rarely any rock acts in the UK that defines youth culture the way the Libertines did, or their predecessors like Oasis, the Stone Roses. You don't really get that anymore. Maybe the Strokes, maybe. The Arctic Monkeys for sure. The Arctic Monkeys, that felt like a movement if you were part of their early material as it was dropping. Is there anyone else I'm missing here? But the pros and cons of the internet is that every niche can exist without mainstream popularity. Bands can sell out the Carlin Academy on a Tuesday, a Tuesday night. Carlin Academy sold out, and it's a band that I've never heard of, and that's just someone who works within the music industry. So, you just be like, who's that? So very rarely will a band or even a song unify seemingly everyone and have the paparazzi obsessively chasing them around. Now, mainstream saturation also comes at a cost, whereby usually older music fans will put it down, saying it's all been done before. But rock music at its peak is delivered by young people to other young people in a way that baffles older people. Older people aren't meant to understand the hype. You're supposed to be baffled, and the newspapers will wind you up by talking about them. And this is back when tabloids had a say, and they could actually make or break an artist. And the Pete Doherty was constantly being followed by paparazzi, and they were, every move he made was news. Now it's changed days now for the media, and it's changed days now for Pete Doherty. The media still write about him, usually about the fact he's too fat after decades of saying he was too skinny. But nobody really cares what the tabloids say anymore. And you could say that Pete Doherty has, against all odds, outlived most of the media outlets who hounded him. He definitely outlived the news of the world for sure. Now, the interview itself is a wee bit bizarre, as you would expect. Pete Doherty's got decades of rock and roll shenanigans and hardcore drug addictions behind him. And Theroux is, Theroux. He's being Theroux. He's intently listening. He's trying to understand. And he's occasionally throwing an uppercut of a question every now and then. The main standout controversy during the show surrounds the suspicious death of Marco Blanco, who fell or was pushed from a balcony a couple of days before he was going to do a play about the accidental death of an anarchist, I think. Hold on, let me just say, I think it was called The Accidental Death of an Anarchist, which involves someone, so it's very weird. It's a very weird story, and I'm surprised that it was brought up, and I'm surprised that Pete Doherty even responded to it. But the gist of it is that CCTV footage shows Pete and others running away from the scene of the crime about 15 seconds after Marco Blanco either falls or is pushed from a balcony. Now, I don't want to go into too much detail here, but his response to me suggested that he knew something about it, or he couldn't remember anything about it. He sort of rambles his way through it, but this could easily be a trauma response. You can expect that from someone who's been traumatised by an incident, which he clearly seems to be. I think it's best to make your own mind up. There isn't enough facts about the case that I've looked into. I don't know of any factual evidence to pin the blame on anyone. One thing's for sure is that he did run away, and that'll definitely be something he's struggled to live with, and could very well have exacerbated his drinking drug habits. He already had them, obviously, but it can get a lot harder to break the cycle the more death and destruction that you have a front row seat to. I can imagine his management, lawyers, band members, family, friends watching bits like this through their fingers. But fair play for answering the question, regardless of how difficult it was to answer it and how legally dangerous it may have been to respond as well. Another notable section is where he seems to take a slug of rum and starts to struggle for air. At first I thought it was heartburn. Louis Theroux asserts that maybe it went down the wrong way. But based on his reaction and in his later admissions to how bad his health is that this may be a severe medical ailment, possibly a heart condition, but I wouldn't like to assume anything with the little knowledge I have. And it is sad to see him convinced that he won't see his child's 25th birthday, despite the huge effort he's making towards what they call semi-sobriety, which basically means that he's scrapped the smack and the crack in favour of wine and cheese. And unlike the tabloids, I would say it's good to see him put on some weight on. Obviously, being overweight comes with it other issues, but surely being overweight and semi-sober is better than being underweight and always wasted. But I'm not a doctor, I have no idea. I'm just an unknown rock star myself who's went from being skinny to fat in the last few years. So I'm guessing it's better. I'm guessing that also it's easier to lose a bit of weight than give up crack cocaine. The whole interview is at times sad, other times funny, and from my point of view, seems completely honest. He's left the UK, he's in a stable relationship, and singing songs to the local cows of Normandy. He's defied all the odds of making it to, I think he said he's 43, I'm not sure. I think it was 43 off the top of my head. But I've seen him loads of times live. I've seen him very much on drugs at Barrowlands, where he kept being told to stop smoking on stage, but then the crowd would throw him cigarettes and lighters, and he just continued to smoke. They couldn't stop him. And I think he also threw a guitar into the crowd that night, and it was reportedly hit an audience member, but I don't know if that's true or not. It was just a thing I read on Twitter. It was a brilliant show, and that's one that will live on in Libertines folklore. I think that, if I remember rightly, that was their first comeback gig, and it was brilliant to hear those songs live once again. And then a few months ago, my band played the same festival as them at Solfest, and that would be the first time that I've seen them him in a semi-sober state. The band were an hour late as the Smiths played on a loop, and not just the Smiths, it was like the same three Smiths songs were on a loop for an hour. No reason was given why they were late. I don't know if it was a festival issue or a band issue, I don't have a clue. But no reason was given, and that delay definitely seemed to affect the crowd. It felt a bit flat, but to be honest, no crowd can compare to a Glasgow Barras crowd. So I don't know. I'm comparing two different things there. And, you know, some people were just maybe sort of passive fans, and I don't know. But it felt a wee bit flat. Maybe the band were not at their best, but I don't think the band, I get the impression that they don't even rehearse together. They just turn up and do their thing and just play on sheer muscle memory and adrenaline. But there was no drama on stage. I still enjoyed it. And the band seemed to be happy and enjoying their moment. And they've surprisingly got a new album dropping soon, which they say is the best work they've ever done, or as good as any work they've ever done. I'm excited to hear that. His music's inspired thousands of people to start a band, so this is a very important band for the culture. And not just the Libertines, but his other band, Baby Shambles, had some incredible records as well. The music will live forever, as will all the rock and roll anecdotes. And for Pete's sake, I hope he can work on his health, maintain sobriety, and inspire others to make changes and make music. But what do you think? The lines are now open. and the comment section is open. It's your call on You Call That Radio. What did you think of the documentary? Are you looking forward to the new album? And interested to hear if you thought doing this interview with Louis Theroux was a good or a bad idea. Thank you for listening. Make sure you like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Bye.